I'm Old Sneelock. Welcome to another episode of Old Sneelock's Workshop. Gonna kind of explain myself in this video. You saw me with a chainsaw going up against plasterboard. And it was a good laugh, and a lot of you guys thought it was funny. At least I hope you did. Let me tell you the backstory on chainsaw remodeling. Long ago, I lived on Crippen Street in Coldwater. Our neighbor, Charlie, had a young son named Stanley who was a friend of mine. And Charlie and my dad got along really well. We'd moved in about a year prior, and Dad used to get along with everybody. Charlie was one of those kind of guys that was just nice to be around. Easygoing, not a problem at all. He drove semi-truck, car hauler. He delivered cars all over the state. So he was gone most of the time. It was 1958 when we moved there. So it would have been 1959 or so that this happened. Charlie drove truck a lot. He was on the road most of the time. And when he came home, tired, because driving truck wasn't easy. No air ride seats, no power steering, no automatic transmission. It was grind gears, push the clutch in, try to unload the cars yourself, load the cars yourself. It was a job. You guys that are car haulers know how it is now. It's not much different. Well, Charlie came home on the weekend, and his wife wanted him to do things. Charlie really just wanted to sit down and have a beer. So there was usually a fight. Sometimes it was bad, sometimes it was worse. Charlie had come home, he'd had his beer, maybe a few more. And his wife started in on him about the latest thing that she wanted done. She was a good woman. She took care of 3 kids when Charlie was on the road and managed everything on her own and tried to keep a house going that was in sad shape because Charlie didn't make a lot of money driving truck. Well, they got into it. Charlie finally had enough. He said, "All right, I'll do it." He went out to the garage, got his chainsaw, came back into the house, cut a doorway between the bedroom and the kitchen with the chainsaw. Right through the power lines, right through the water lines. Water flooded all over the place, the power was out. Charlie didn't electrocute himself, amazingly. But he cut the doorway free, kicked it out of the wall, went over to the bed, flopped down and passed out. Now Charlie's wife came over to my house, told my dad what had happened. Dad went over, shut off the water, fixed the line, fixed the power, got the lights back on, and came back home. The next day, Charlie, who had sobered up in the meantime, came over and got Dad. Dad went over and helped him put the door in properly and get it taken care of. Fixed the water lines, made it so that the kitchen worked again, and got his lights going. So that's the idea of cutting a wall open with a chainsaw. It was funny at the time. But now that I'm older, I realize that it was a tragic situation. It's not always tragic. Sometimes it's just plain boneheaded simple. Had a friend. He bought a house. He paid a few $1,000s cash down and a shotgun. Got the house, lived there. I went over there once and he was rebuilding a V4 outboard motor there in the living room, on the carpet. Didn't care. The city came around and said, "We're trying to improve the neighborhoods. We will give you a grant. Don't have to pay it back, it's just free money. The grant is so that you can fix your house up. Because some of you can stretch the money, we'll give you a line of credit at the store that you want to use." Well, Bill decided that that was a great thing. So he went out to a local lumber yard, got his line of credit opened, and proceeded to buy stuff. He gave me a phone call. He said, "Hey Dave, you do a lot of work, don't you? I said, well, you know I do, Bill. He said, well, do you need any wood? I said, no. Why? He said, well, I've got a line of credit at XYZ store, and I can buy all the wood you need, and you pay me the money. I said, nope, I don't need any wood. Well, Bill decided he was going to take his $5,000 grant and just spend it on what he wanted. The idea was to get the roof fixed and put siding on the house, replace the windows if they needed it, put on a storm door, get the sink working, anything to make the house better. Bill decided the thing that he really needed was a pool table. So he decided he was going to buy lumber and sell it and take the money and use that to buy a pool table. Problem solved, right? Well, there was another problem. He didn't have room for a pool table. He didn't want to have to use a short pool stick like you do in some of the bars, you know, where they got the pool table up against the wall. No, he wanted a good room to use his pool table in. So he decided he needed to take out a supporting wall between two bedrooms. Well, it was a supporting wall. He asked me if I wanted to help, and I said no. I didn't want to be involved at all with this thing. It sounded like something that was going to end up with somebody in a lot of trouble. Well, late one night, I got a phone call. It seems that Bill and another friend of mine had decided it was time to take that wall down. Now, Bill had only bought one power saw. He bought a jigsaw. Put a big blade in it, and they were cutting through that wall and going along just fine. It was only lath and plaster. You can cut through that pretty easy. The studs were a bit of a problem, but he'd get to those eventually. Well, about halfway through the wall, he didn't realize that there was an outlet in the wall right below where he was cutting. And the wires came down from the ceiling to that outlet, right in the path of his jigsaw blade. Boom! Cut the power off. Well, that was the power that ran that outlet and the upstairs too, in the back of the house. So the back of the house was no lights. And since I was an electrician, he called me up and wanted me to come over and fix the problem. Well, I'm not going to leave him and his wife sitting in the dark. So I drove over there, and they were trying to figure out what they were going to do. I went down the basement, pulled the fuse, which they had blown, made sure that the power was off, capped the end of the wires, made the wires safe, put the fuse back in, got the rest of the house lit up. Still didn't have the upstairs lit because that wire was cut. And when I mentioned putting the wire back together again, now we're going to do this wall and we don't need that wire in there. Well, that was the wire that ran the upstairs lights. Go figure. So, would I use a chainsaw to cut out a wall in a house? No. Would I cut through a wall without knowing what's behind it? No. Have I ever been surprised? Yes. Never cut a wire. But a lady wanted to have an outlet in the house. Didn't tell me that there was a fireplace buried in the wall that they had just covered over with plasterboard. I chiseled all the way down from the ceiling, 6 inches deep into that fireplace so that I could set an outlet down at the floor level, plastered the hole back up, sanded it down, painted it, and was done. It's a bit job. Working for my dad. I didn't worry about where the money came from. He paid me. So, I'm cautious when I'm doing things. Using a chainsaw is fun. I'm not drunk. I don't want to cut the power line to the top of the house. I'm not going to use a chainsaw cutting the wall. But it was a lot of fun. And if you decide to cut the wall, make sure you just cut through the plasterboard and cut a hole in there and see what's inside before you start whacking away on the studs. Don't cut supporting walls. You need them. The bedrooms in the upstairs at Bill's house, you could drop a marble on the floor and it would roll over towards that low spot in the house where that supporting wall was gone. It was like walking across a trampoline. Bill had a waterbed. I don't know what happened about that, because shortly thereafter we had a falling out and I never talked to Bill again. If you have any suggestions for a new video, questions about today's video, or any of the other videos on the channel, just drop a note in the comments. You know I read them all. Thanks for watching.